Marhaba wa ahla wa sahla fikum. I hope you're well and have a wonderful day. In today's session, we'll be talking about the subjunctive in Levantine Arabic. Previously, we talked about the be prefix conjugation with the regular and irregular verbs, and today we'll be talking about the subjunctive. The conjugation for the subjunctive, it is the same as the be prefix we've conjugated it before, just simply it's without the ba, which we add at the front of every conjugation. Let's have a look. On the right hand side, you'll see the conjugation for the be prefix, and as you see, there's a ba to the beginning of every conjugation. However, on the other side, this is what we call it the subjunctive, and you don't see the ba being repeated with every single conjugation. I'd like to highlight that the be prefix conjugation is purely created in dialect and it does not exist in Arabic. So it's purely created in dialect. And on the other side, it gets deleted when we form the subjunctive. However, you can form the subjunctive with the be as well, as you would hear people leave the be with the subjunctive and without it. So again, and at the end of the day, it's something absolutely up to you. And the conjugation goes like this. اكتب, أنا اكتب, أنت تكتب, أنتي تكتبي, نحن نكتب, أنتوا تكتبوا, هو يكتب, هي تكتب, هن يكتبوا. Now let's have a look at the subjunctive and dive in a little bit more in greater details. What is the subjunctive? The subjunctive in general, it's used to refer to things which are sought, desired, or feared, or wanted, but are not necessarily realized. The subjunctive in Arabic, it comes after certain particles, like hatta or la, and both mean to, in order to, or for doing something. I'd like to highlight, in dialect, we have heavily shortened these particles, because in modern standard Arabic, we actually have more particles than in Levantine Arabic. So in modern standard Arabic, abbreviated to MSA, we do have more particles than these two, but you're very lucky because we only have two here are used in dialect. Our third note is the subjunctive can be preceded with either a past tense or a present tense. And these two verb conjugated tenses can agree in gender and the subject pronoun or can differ. Let's have a look. Our first example, قررت سافر على بيروت. قررت سافر على بيروت. Here we've got the subjunctive, because the subjunctive, in a nutshell, it's a verb followed by a verb. قررت سافر. Because the normal way would people go ahead and add the ba conjugation. So they'll say قررت بسافر, which is, again, as I mentioned earlier, you could certainly do that. However, the majority of people would drop the be if a verb comes after another verb, and that is the definition of the subjunctive. قررت is in the past tense, conjugated with I, and سافر is I travel. قررت سافر على بيروت. I decided I travel to Beirut. That's the literal translation. But the overall translation, I decided to travel. Our second sentence, قدرت أحكي مع أمي. قدرت أحكي مع أمي. The literal translation for it, قدرت, I was able, أحكي, I speak, مع أمي, with my mom. So past tense followed by present tense. Both tenses are conjugated with I, and it means I was able to talk. رحت شوف أختي. رحت شوف أختي. I went to see my sister. رحت شوف أختي. رحت, I went, شوف, I see. I went to see. So past tense followed by present tense. And both here are conjugated with the same subject pronoun. Our fourth example. بلشت أدرس عربي من سنة. بلشت أدرس عربي من سنة. بلشت, I started, conjugated with I in the past tense. أدرس is I study, conjugated with I in the present tense, and the overall translation, I started learning Arabic a year ago. So again, the subjunctive can be preceded with a past tense. Our second point is the subjunctive can be preceded with a present tense. Let's have a look at this example. بقرر سافر على بيروت بكرة. بقرر سافر على بيروت بكرة. بقرر سافر. بقرر is conjugated with I first person, and سافر is conjugated with I first person. Present tense, present tense. Our second sentence, بقدر أحكي مع أمي. بقدر أحكي مع أمي. بقدر I can. أحكي I speak. Both are conjugated in the present tense and with I first person. Our third example. رايح شوف أختي. رايح شوف أختي. رايح شوف I'm going to see. رايح is conjugated with I, that's the active participle. شوف is to see and is conjugated with I first person in the present tense. Our fourth sentence. برفض اشتغل مع هاي الشركة. برفض اشتغل مع هاي الشركة. برفض I refuse. اشتغل I work. برفض اشتغل I refuse to work. Both are conjugated with the present tense with I first person. I'd like to highlight that both the past and the present tense can be conjugated with I first person. However, you could change the conjugation depending who's going to undertake the action or who's going to be addressed within the sentence. Let's have a look at those examples. فيك تسافر على بيروت. Can you travel to Beirut? So فيك تسافر, فيك is conjugated with you masculine and تسافر is conjugated with you masculine. فيك تسافر, can you travel to Beirut? فيك تسافر على بيروت. بتقدر تحكي مع أمي. بتقدر تحكي مع أمي. Are you able, you talk with my mom. Are you able to talk with my mom? Are you able to talk? بتقدر تحكي. The third sentence. رايحة تشوفي أختي. رايحة تشوفي أختي. رايحة, you are going feminine. تشوفي, you see. أختي, my sister, you are going to see. The fourth sentence. برفض تشتغلوا. برفض is conjugated with I masculine, I refuse. تشتغلوا, you group of people work. So here the first part is in the present tense conjugated with I refuse. تشتغلوا, you group of people work, and it's conjugated with you group of people. So I refuse, you work. برفض تشتغلوا. So the idea, you could change the conjugation for both part of the verbs. It could be either past, present, or present, present. And in terms of the conjugation, you could conjugate both either with any subject pronouns depending who you want to address or who you want to undertake the action. What I would like to highlight as well, the subjunctive in terms of the conjugation is absolutely the same conjugation as the be prefix present tense. But here the subjunctive, in short, it is two verbs coming after each other. And the first verb can be an auxiliary, such as بدي آكل. بدي آكل, I want to eat. بدي آكل, I want to eat. In the literal translation for it, it means I want, I eat. I want, I eat. The overall translation, I want to eat. لازم أحجز. لازم أحجز. لازم, I need. أحجز, I book. That's the literal translation, and the overall translation, I need to book. لازم أحجز. لازم أحجز. ضروري أطبخ. ضروري أطبخ. ضروري, I should. أطبخ, I cook. ضروري أطبخ, I should cook. ضروري أطبخ. فيني أعطيكي دروس عربي. فيني, I can. أعطيكي, I give you. دروس عربي, Arabic lessons. فيني أعطيكي, I can give you. فيني أعطيكي, I can give you. ممكن أخذ شاي. ممكن أخذ شاي. ممكن أخذ, can I take. ممكن أخذ, can I take. شاي is a tea. بجوز. بجوز نقدم على الشغل. بجوز نقدم على الشغل. بجوز نقدم على الشغل. Perhaps we are going to apply for the work. بجوز نقدم على الشغل. What we are noticing here, all the subjunctives, as you see, in all these conjugations, it came without the be conjugation. If you want to, you can keep the be if you wish. However, you will hear the majority of people don't. The subjunctive, as well as being preceded with one of these auxiliaries, it can be preceded with some particles, and these particles we have la or hatta, and both mean to, in order to, or for doing. رحت لأحكي مع كريس. رحت لأحكي مع كريس. رحت, I went. لا, to. أحكي, to speak. رحت لأحكي مع Chris. I went to speak with Chris. And this is how the L joins the R when you write it, because you're not going to write it like that and leave it. It has to be connected and joined. اشتريت سيارة لأخذ أولادي على المدرسة. اشتريت سيارة لأخذ أولادي على المدرسة. اشتريت I bought سيارة a car. لأخذ to take أولادي my children على المدرسة to school. سافرنا لنغير جو. سافرنا we traveled. لا to نغير we change جو scenery atmosphere. عزمت حتى ندردش ع رواء. عزمت I invited her. حتى ندردش so we chat. ع رواء quietly. عزمت حتى ندردش so حتى here that's the particle. راسلتك حتى أعرف الجواب. راسلتك I wrote to you. حتى to know in order to know. أعرف to know. الجواب the answer. راسلتك حتى أعرف الجواب. فطرنا حتى نروح على الشغل بكير. فطرنا we ate breakfast. حتى in order to نروح we go على الشغل بكير to work early. فطرنا حتى نروح على الشغل بكير. Again, these examples highlight the use of these two particles, la and hatta, and both means to, in order to, or for. Some more examples. شو بتحبي تحضري أكل؟ شو بتحبي تحضري أكل؟ شو بتحبي, what do you like, تحضري, you prepare أكل, food. Both are conjugated in the present tense, conjugated with you feminine. بالعطلة بحب امشي كتير. بالعطلة بحب امشي كتير. بحب I like, امشي I walk. Both are conjugated in the present tense with I first person. بحب أعمل مناقيش. بحب أعمل مناقيش. بحب أعمل I like, I make. I like to make. مناقيش are stuffed pastries. تركت بكير حتى جيب ابني من المدرسة. تركت بكير حتى جيب in order to bring, to pick up. تركت I left, جيب to bring, which is present tense. تركت is in the past tense with I first person, and جيب is I bring is in the present tense, conjugated with I as well. تركت بكير حتى جيب ابني من المدرسة. بنحب نضل بالبيت. بنحب we like نضل we stay بالبيت at home. بنحب نضل بالبيت. We like we stay at home. We like to stay at home. Both are conjugated with we in the present tense. فطرنا حتى نروح على الشغل بكير. فطرنا we ate breakfast حتى نروح in order to go على الشغل بكير to work early. فطرنا is conjugated with we, past tense. نروح is conjugated with we, present tense. Great, and this is everything about the subjunctive you should know. Let's remind ourselves what is the subjunctive. The subjunctive is used in certain occasions to things that we want and prefer to do, but that doesn't mean necessarily it could be realized. The subjunctive, in terms of the conjugation, it could be conjugated the same as the be prefix present tense, but without the be. The subjunctive can be preceded with a past tense or a present tense. The subjunctive use two particles, la or hatta, and both mean to or in order to. Great, guys, and this was the subjunctive in Levantine Arabic. Hope you enjoyed it and found it helpful. Until next time, hope you stay safe. Ma salame.